Yo, what up? All right. We got another one from Mr. Ballin. Another one from Mr. Ballin. And this is another top three videos with disturbing backstories. Yeah, you know, again, videos, photos, pictures, audio recordings, just stories. It's all disturbing. It's all disturbing. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like I'm learning a lot. I think like each of these videos or each of these stories, I feel like I'm learning a lot. Or at least that's the way it feels. I'm learning, what not to do and signs to look for and certain things. But another top three videos with disturbing backstories. Let's go.
Today, I'm going to share 3 progressively more disturbing stories, and at the end of each of them, I will share the video that is famously associated with them. But before we get into today's stories, if you're a fan
Hopefully
of
not
the strange,
too
dark, and
graphic.
mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right channel because that's all we do, and we upload 3 or 4 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please replace the like button's sleeping pills with caffeine pills right before their 14-hour plane ride from Hawaii to Okinawa, Japan. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's stories.
All right. Nothing too disturbing, Mr. Ball. We're gonna make it. I don't think you are.
In June of 2018, 18-year-old straight-A student Tyler Turner graduated from his high school in Central California. In the fall of that year, he was scheduled to go to the University of California, Merced with a full scholarship. He planned to study biochemical engineering because he was born with cerebral palsy and wanted to help other people with the condition. In August of that year, one of Tyler's friends said they wanted to go skydiving to celebrate their birthday. Tyler was nervous about it, but he had never done it before and figured, you know what, it'll be fun, I'll do it. His mother, Francine, who was very close with her son, was very nervous about her son jumping out of a plane, and so she asked if she could tag along to provide moral support and maybe take some pictures, and he said that was fine. So on the 6th of the month, Tyler and his mother hopped in the car and drove over an hour north to the Lodi Parachute Center, where they met up with Tyler's other 3 friends. They were all very nervous, but very excited. So the group went inside the main building, and Tyler went up to the counter and he paid $100 for a single tandem jump from 13,000 feet. A tandem jump is when 2 people jump together under one parachute. And so most commonly, you're going to have the instructor who's got the parachute on his or her back, and then on their chest, harnessed at 4 different points, is going to be their student or whoever they're jumping with, and they don't have a parachute. They're just tethered to the instructor who has the parachute. And so in this case, Tyler would be strapped on to his instructor. And so the advantage for Tyler as a first-time jumper is that he would not need to do anything once they're in free fall. The instructor would be 100% in control of keeping them steady in the air, of pulling the parachute, of dealing with any malfunctions, of flying the canopy, and of landing. It's all done by the instructor. After paying, Tyler and his mother walked over and met his instructor, the guy he'd be strapped onto. It was a 25-year-old man named Young Kwan who told him he had jumped over 700 times. And so Young told Tyler that he needed to watch a safety video before they did anything else. And so Tyler and his mother walked into the room, they sat down, the TV turned on, and a very simple safety video came on. And partway through it, another instructor walked in and just turned it off and told Tyler and his mother, you've seen enough, you guys can go. Francine was a little bit alarmed at this behavior because it seemed odd to skip over safety when you're jumping out of a plane for the first time, but she figured, you know what, they must know what they're doing, I'm sure it's fine. Just before 10 a.m., Young helped Tyler get into his tandem jump harness that would allow him to connect onto Young's chest, and then afterward, Tyler walked over to his mom, gave her a big hug, told her he loved her, and then he departed his mother and walked his way over to the staging area where he and the other jumpers that included his friends were waiting for the plane to start so they could actually board. While they waited, Tyler was really nervous, and his instructor picked up on it, and so to put Tyler at ease, he began filming Tyler and interviewing him about his upcoming jump to kind of make light of the whole situation, and it seemed to work.
My name is Tyler Turner.
What do I do here?
I am gonna jump out of a plane.
It's your first time.
First time indeed. That's my mom over there. Hello, very loving mom. Done a lot for me in my life. Hope more that she'll help me with more of my life. because I want to make it. Okay, we're gonna make it.
After they recorded this video, the plane was ready to go, so it was time to start boarding. And so Tyler and his instructor walked over, but Tyler stopped on the tarmac. He took a knee and prayed, and then he stood back up, he turned to his mother, he waved one more time, and then he boarded the plane. After a little while, the plane took off, and then after a little while longer, it was up at 13,000 feet, flying in circular patterns. And that's when Francine started looking up, looking for her son, and at some point she started seeing jumpers come out of the plane. And they were so far away, she couldn't possibly make out who was who. And so as the jumpers began pulling their parachutes, and all the different colored parachutes are lighting up the sky, she was trying to remember what color her son's parachute was, but she couldn't remember. And so she asked the other people that were watching, that were relatives or friends of the people up there, if they knew what color her son's parachute was, but nobody knew. As they got lower and lower, and you could actually start to make out who the jumpers were, she didn't see her son. And that's because her son's parachute never opened. And unfortunately, his instructor, Yang, was not able to fix the malfunction or fire off the reserve. And so they both crashed into the ground, killing them both instantly. Tyler's family sued the owner of the parachute facility after they discovered Tyler's instructor, Yang, was not even certified to be an instructor, and so would not have received any of the required training on how to handle parachute malfunctions.
What?
And the owner knew about it. Investigators also discovered that 20 people had died skydiving at this facility under the same owner, a ridiculously high number of fatalities that most people involved are attributing to the owner's general disregard for safety. And ultimately, a judge agreed with that sentiment and awarded the Turner family $40 million from the owner of this facility.
20? What?
In 1962, Chileno Sanchez was born into a poor family in the Mexican state of Sinaloa. When he was just 15 years old, one of his sisters was assaulted by a very rich and powerful man in their town, and so he never got punished for it. 2 years later, when Chileno was 17, he saw this man at a party and he walked up to him and shot him in the head, killing him instantly. After the murder, Chileno fled to Tijuana before ultimately crossing the US border into Los Angeles, where he stayed with his aunt. He worked odd jobs like picking vegetables and selling cars before he ultimately went into business with his brother, who was back in Mexico, and he worked with him to smuggle Mexicans into the US. But that operation stopped in 1984 when his brother was murdered in Tijuana. To commemorate his brother, Chileno, who always loved music, wrote a song about him. And he formatted the song in the typical Mexican ballad style called corrido, but his lyrics were graphic and gritty, something nobody else did when they wrote a corrido. Chileno spoke honestly and openly, not only about how his brother was killed, but also the struggles of living around drug trafficking and violence in Mexico. Shortly after writing the song, Chileno wound up in jail in Tijuana, Mexico, and while he was there, he would sing the song he wrote about his brother, and other inmates heard it and loved it. They had never heard a corrido sung like that. And so they asked Chileno if he would write songs about them and their exploits. Soon, Chileno was being commissioned by all these inmates in this prison to write their songs in exchange for money and for favors.
Okay.
When Chileno got out of prison, his unique songwriting abilities had spread beyond the prison walls to other criminals and drug traffickers and kingpins in Mexico.
Damn, only
and before
criminals and
long,
drug
Chileno was
traffickers.
being approached by those people to write their songs. His corridos pioneered a new subgenre of music called narco corrido for their ties to the narcotics industry. Some people today compare the style and lyrics of the narco corrido to gangster rap. By 1987,
Wow.
Chileno's music was not just being shared amongst his paying clients. It had spread into Los Angeles and all over Mexico and was becoming very popular, even though it wasn't being played on the radio because radios thought his lyrics were too graphic. And so it was spreading largely because of word of mouth and because Chileno himself would go to car washes and street corners and he would sell his cassettes to anybody who would take them. By 1991, Chileno was so famous that he actually went on tour, and everywhere he went, the venue would be completely sold out. But given what his narco corridos were about, largely about drug trafficking and the people that are involved in that ecosystem, the people that would actually come to his performances were often rough and dangerous people, or were at least tied to rough and dangerous people. In 1992, when Chileno was performing in California, while he was on stage, this 33-year-old guy rushed onto stage with him and drew a gun on him, and Chileno, who was always carrying a weapon himself, drew his pistol and fired at this guy first. And then what ensued was this crazy gunfight on stage, practically point blank, between Chileno and this guy. And they both managed to shoot each other. Chileno got shot in the lung, and this guy got shot in the mouth. They would both survive. But 8 audience members also got shot, and one of them actually died. This made international headlines, and by all accounts, should have devastated Chileno's career. But in fact, it had the opposite
Yeah.
effect. It made him 10 times more famous because
Gangster
Chileno,
rap.
he was representing narco-corrido
50
music.
Cent,
And so
Tupac.
in being the face of that, he kind of represented drug trafficking and criminals and outlaws all over Mexico and in the United States. And so he was kind of representing a very tough group of people. And so for him to have stood his ground on stage and shot first at this guy coming to attack him, it made him look brave. It made him look like a warrior. It validated him as the right person to be the face of narco corridos. But Chileno also understood that this probably was not the last time that someone was going to try to hurt him. That in virtue of being the face of narco culture, there's bound to be people that are very violent that don't like him.
Yeah.
And they might come after him too. And so
Yeah.
he actually told his inner circle that he thought his days were numbered, that at some point someone was going to kill him. 4 months after the shootout, Chileno was back home in Sinaloa, Mexico, performing at a concert that his friends had told him he shouldn't do because he had lots of enemies in his hometown. But Chileno really wanted to do it. He got into the venue, he
Chileno.
got on stage, his band was getting ready, thousands of people were coming into the audience, and before the show started, somebody handed him a note. And so Chileno takes the note, he's smiling, he's kind of looking around at the crowd, and then he looks down at the note and he reads it, and right away his expression completely changes. He looks distressed, he rubs his brow, he frowns, he kind of looks up at the crowd like he's looking for someone, and then he just goes blank in the face, and he's looking out like he's looking past the crowd. And it's this long period of time where he's just blank staring into the audience. And then all of a sudden he just snaps out of it, takes the note, puts it in his pocket, picks up the microphone, and proceeds to give one of his best live performances to date. After the concert was over, Chileno made a special effort to say bye to everybody in his band, and he said bye to some people in the crowd. And then finally, after this kind of long drawn out goodbye, he walked out the back door. Shortly after, he was kidnapped, tied up, and then shot in the back of the head, execution style. It would turn out that note he received on stage was from his killers, who we don't know exactly who they are still to this day, but the note said, after this performance, we're going to kill you. And so that was the reason Chileno was so distressed, because whoever it was, he obviously understood it was a credible threat. But instead of panicking, he just decided he would give an amazing performance and then face his destiny. And so when he went outside, he knew he was going to get murdered. And he did. Here is the moment Chileno was handed that note on stage, informing him he had been marked for death.
What? Dang. Where's your bodyguards? You ain't got nobody there to help you? You gotta have a whole crew of people. They just kidnapped him and took him?
Despite the fact that today there is already tons of shocking content on the internet, there is still something truly insane about Wu Yongning's videos. In 2017, Wu was a 26-year-old climbing enthusiast who was dubbed China's first rooftopper. A rooftopper is someone who, usually illegally, climbs onto rooftops, cranes, smokestacks, big antennas, skyscrapers, or any other really
Come
high,
on,
dangerous
man.
location. Almost always, these daredevils are going to these incredibly dangerous locations in order to capture footage of themselves so they can post it to the internet in hopes that it goes viral and they become famous and make a bunch of money. But because there are so many people competing for the internet's attention, rooftoppers really need to push the envelope if they want to stand out and make it big. And Wu Yongning did just that, and the internet rewarded him with millions of followers and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most rooftoppers would go to the tops of these incredible locations and then take selfies of themselves standing there posing at the top. Wu would do that, but he also did a couple other things that nobody else was doing that kind of became his trademarks. The first one was he would dangle over the edge of the building or the crane or the antenna that he was holding onto, and he would do pull-ups, but he would keep doing them until he reached muscle failure and then would barely be able to pull himself back up to safety. Another trademark move is he would go to the top of these huge buildings and he would get right on the edge and he would do a handstand and then he would pull one arm back. So he's doing a one-armed handstand and then he would tilt his body as far as he could over the edge until he couldn't do it any farther, and he let himself come back over to safety. And then perhaps the most difficult to watch trademark was when Wu would basically run up to the edge of buildings and stop just short. And he wouldn't just run to the edge, he would use a self-balancing scooter and go as fast as he could right to the edge of the building and stop just short. And over again, he'd go right to the edge and stop, where he's literally an inch away from tumbling off the edge. Or he'd line himself up where he knew exactly how far he was from the edge, and he would do these really aggressive somersaults forward, and he would stop with his legs dangling off the edge of the building. And of course, all of these trademark moves were done without any safety equipment, and most times Wu did these stunts without anybody there to potentially pull him back up if he gets stuck. About 3/4 of the way through 2017,
I wonder what
Wu
happened
had
to
posted
Wu.
over 500 videos and live streaming clips to various social media sites, and he was starting to make some real money off of it. On one video sharing site alone, he had made over $80,000 just from donations that had come in. And so it was clear this was becoming a career. But as the money and the fame were coming into Wu, he started to realize that in order for him to stay on top and keep earning at this level, he would need to continuously outperform his last big stunt. And already he was brushing up against death on virtually every video he took. In early November of that year, Wu heard about a competition that was offering $15,000 to its winner. The details of this competition are hazy at best, but from the sounds of it, it was a viral video competition. Make the most viral video and you win the prize. This competition served as motivation for Wu to finally attempt his craziest stunt yet. He figured if he had the footage of this particular stunt, he was sure to win this competition, and with the prize money, he could pay for his wedding and cover his mother's medical expenses. And so on November 8th, Wu traveled to the Huayan International Center in central China. This massive 62-story skyscraper would be the tallest building Wu had ever performed a stunt on. The public was only able to get up to the 44th floor, and so Wu had to take the elevator up to somewhere between the 40th and 44th floor, at which point he climbed out of a window and free climbed his way all the way up to the top, so 20 additional floors just climbing the side of a skyscraper. Once he got to the rooftop, he set up his tripod and his camera, and he turned on his live stream. And then he walked around and he began preparing himself for the stunt. Live stream viewers that tuned in would see Wu sitting on the edge of the skyscraper, and he's meticulously wiping down the edge of this building. It's the area he'll be grabbing onto to perform his stunt, which was going to be his trademark pull-ups. And so after several minutes of Wu cleaning this ledge, he begins to lower himself where his arms are still tucked up over the ledge. So he's not hanging, he's got his arms kind of anchored on the top. He's like testing the edge of this lip. And he kind of feels around and he can tell that it's not a good grip. It's not good enough for him to go down to a full extension. And so he pulls himself back up and he goes back to wiping down the edge. And from the looks of it, it seems like Wu is actually pretty nervous about this stunt. And normally when you watch Wu's videos, he doesn't seem nervous at all, even leading up to his stunt. But this one just seemed different. And so after again wiping down this ledge as much as he possibly could, he gets himself ready, lowers himself onto his arms, he lets his legs drop over the edge of the building, and then he goes to full extension. And from there, he does 2 complete pull-ups, and then after the second pull-up, he begins to try to pull himself back up to safety. But he's fatigued and he can't quite get himself up over the edge. He starts to use his feet to try to use the glass to push himself back up, but he can't get a grip. And for the next 15 seconds, Wu is desperately trying to get himself up and over this ledge. He's trying to muscle himself up, but it's obvious he's completely fatigued. I mean, he did free climb almost 20 stories to get up there, and so it makes sense his arms would be tired. But there's nobody up there to help pull him up. And so after a while, he goes back to full extension because he can't do anything, and he looks down as if he's sizing up if he can survive this fall, which he obviously can't. And then the camera picks up a sort of whimpering sound that appears to come from Wu, and then he loses his grip and he falls to his death. Here is a segment of his final video right before he fell.
Oh man, bro. What are you doing? Playing games. What are you doing?
So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's video, let us know in the comments what it is and where you found it. So give us the timestamp. And if you're the first to do that, we'll pin you at the top.
that ended exactly how I expected it to. Like, I mean, what are you doing? You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. You know, you're trying to make these videos, videos to where you're cheating death. You're not cheating death. You're playing with death, and death doesn't like to be played with. My goodness, you got a scooter on top of a building, go riding it to the edge as fast as you can, and stopping and going back. You running up to the edge as fast as you can. You hanging off buildings. What'd you think was gonna happen, man? I knew it was gonna happen. And it seemed like he had, he was doing it for a good reason. At least MrBallen said he was trying to win some prize for his wedding and to help his sick mom or grandmother. There's other things to do, man. There's less dangerous things you can do. Get creative. Get more creative. He's thinking the more dangerous it is, the better the video. No, get you can get more creative, man. Oh, why? I don't understand. That's I kind of feel sorry for him, but then it's like, you know what you knew what you was doing. You knew what you was doing. 3? You only got to 3 pull-ups. Why would you even do that if you're not strong enough to handle at least 10? Or I mean, you would think like but then, MrBallen said he did free climb 20 stories or something. You don't need to be doing that then. I've seen other, I was just watching a video of what's the dude's name? Alex Honnold. Is it Alex Honnold, the solo climber? He climbs without ropes, and he climbed like Half Dome without ropes or anything. That's dangerous. He knows what he's getting into. Alex Honnold knows, and he's he's not doing the same thing. He's not out there on the rock like tempting, laughing, joking, and then making videos of him almost falling or something, trying to make money of his almost certain death. That's not what he's doing. Alex Honnold's just trying to, climb. You're trying to make money off of, the shock factor of YouTube, I guess. And it didn't work out for you. Man. Yeah. Then Chelino. Gangster rap? Mexican gangster rap? Okay. Man, so most likely, he's probably talking about, other rivals and the police and stuff in his music, most likely. That's usually what, gangster rap is what they're talking about, I would imagine. They said so they couldn't play it on the on the radio because of the lyrics and stuff. That sounds about right. That's what they did with gangster rap here. Man. And then if you get in a shootout or something at like he didn't say that was an award show. I think that was just like a show he had. But if you get in a shootout, and you survive and you are a gangster rapper, that's going to help your career, not hurt it. I mean, all the rappers, that helps your career. It doesn't hurt it. So I'm not surprised that he blew up even more after that. But I mean, it must be, to get a note on stage that, they're basically telling you, you ain't gonna make it through the night. I'm not leaving that building until I have enough people. It sounds like, or MrBallen made it seem like he just, tightened his tie and walked out. It's like, nah. I'd be like, yo, as soon as we go out this door, we're gonna have some trouble on the, it's gonna be some trouble on the other side of this door. So let's be ready. We got Jimmy, Billy, Mike, Big Mike, Little Mike, all the people we need. Everybody, we go. I'm Chelino. Protect me. Man, come on now. Or maybe it was an inside job. I don't know. I don't know. Man, Chileno. Chileno. Okay. Gangster, Mexican gangster rap, famous Mexican gangster rapper. Man. Uh, in the first story, man. I don't, you know, he said, MrBallen said that the guide or the whoever he jumped with had 700 jumps of experience. So he never ran into any type of trouble in those 700 jumps, or maybe that was a lie. Because he wasn't even like, he didn't even have the right qualifications to be, to have the position he had. So maybe everything was a lie. Because how do you not know how to handle, I'm guessing like did he not know where to pull? Like how did they determine like there was a malfunction with the chute? Like did he try to pull it and it didn't open? And did he try to pull his backup chute and it didn't open? How does nothing work? How is that possible? I know it's possible, but I mean, on a tandem jump, man, that's that makes me and I've honestly like not lately, but like maybe like 10 years ago for like my birthday or something, I've thought about the same, like, I'm gonna go skydiving. I'm thinking I want to go skydiving. Not anymore. And that's how I would have done it. I would have done like a tandem jump. I wouldn't have been able to do it by myself. I wouldn't have trusted myself. I don't know how I'm gonna act when I'm 13,000 feet up in the air, falling. I've never done it before, so I don't know how I'm gonna act. So I'm not gonna put myself in a position to have to, pull and guide. I don't know how to, you know what I'm saying? So it would have been, if I would have done it, it would have been a tandem jump. And I would have been relying on another human, to make, life saving decisions or decisions that could save my life. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, especially if I don't have to. Like, I understand if I'm in a situation where I have to depend on like a, firefighter or, some type of, but if I'm not doing it for fun. I'm not putting myself in that position for fun. I'm not going rock climbing, with somebody else. I'm not going skydiving. I'm not going scuba diving. I go snorkeling, but I'm not going scuba diving to where I'm going to be underwater for over 30 minutes and stuff. Maybe not now. Maybe when I get older, I'll change. You know what I'm saying? Maybe when I get older, I just won't care anymore. But yeah, man.